say it's somebody in India, is World War II as important to them as it is somebody in the United States? Probably not. I mean, even though India did play a part in the war, but it depends on, I mean, it can have different countries remembers things different ways and what's important to them. Okay? But this is one of the reasons that, I mean, the interpretation of the past is important. And I think I said to you before, where it becomes very political, the World War II Veterans Memorial is very political because for a number of reasons. Well, primarily for one reason, because it was the plan for the mall downtown, the mall, I don't know, like Tyson's Mall or something, in that flat space, was to have an uninterrupted view from the Potomac all the way up to Washington Monument, and then all of a sudden they're building this memorial right in the middle of it. Okay, which was not the intention, but they made it low. You really can't. This doesn't really disrupt the view, but still. So there was a controversy over that. I told you before there's a controversy over the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And this is important. Why? Because, again, people interpret the past memory differently. Okay? There's a certain group who wanted to do it. Let's interpret it very solemnly, the names of those who died. And then there was another group who said, no, we need this memorial along the lines of traditional memorials, and that's why I told you before, if you go down to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, you walk to the side of it, about 400 feet, and you see 3 men standing there, statues of 3 men standing there, and that's the anti-Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Okay. About 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I think I also mentioned to you that the Smithsonian was going to bring out the airplane, the Enola Gay, that dropped the first bomb on Japan, on Nagasaki, Japan, or Hiroshima. And they were going to, reassemble it, and they were going to interpret it along the lines of, this is what we did, and blah blah blah. And then a group of people, it's called historical revisionists, which is a value to it. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. Got involved and said, no, you can't interpret this event or this airplane as this, white knight, coming to the rescue of freedom and democracy by dropping this bomb on these people, killing 200,000 people in an instant. What we did was horrific and blah blah blah. See, here you have 2 generations, 2 completely opposite ends. And one can interpret the past differently. That World War II veterans were very much behind that exhibit. They were funding it. The VFW was funding it. Very much behind this exhibit being interpreted as, and this is what they called in World War II the greatest war ever. America war. And then this other generation, newer generation, saying, what America did was horrific by killing all these Japanese. And so they ended up whittling down this exhibit, a shell of what it was supposed to be. That's the problem with the past. The past is a very controversial place. The memory is a very controversial place because who owns it? Who owns memory?
Also, the word would be selective under memory because some people take one way, you memorize whatever you relate to, and then forgot.
Absolutely. Did you hear what she said? It's selective memory. Families have it, right? Mm-hmm. And so do societies and cultures. Civilizations have it. A very good example of that. Anybody been to Williamsburg, Virginia? Colonial Williamsburg? Who's been to Colonial Williamsburg? Elementary school. Colonial Williamsburg, up until about 1980, 81. Okay. Well, it started in the 1930s. One of the Rockefeller brothers bought this town. Okay. Williamsburg, which should be Virginia's capital. And in the 1930s, in late 20s, early 30s, very big time for rich Dutch Americans. The colonial time. So one of the Rockefeller brothers bought this town, basically bought all the towns, and then he's going to reinterpret this town as a colonial village. And it was the colonial capital of Virginia, Williamsburg. so, you know, he who owns history, who owns memory,